shut up, you listen to my monkey mouth. There's a companion when you got pun on the canoa route. Hopped in a portal and got in a fight, Elias knocked him out. Bow, Naruto fighting style. Bow, UFC he tapped out. Bow, we win, we get crowned. Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.
What is up, Armchair Army? Welcome back to Armchair Mixed Martial Arts. This is Joshua. Happy to be with you as always. On this episode, we're going to be reviewing UFC 277, as well as looking forward to some of the other fights that are going to be coming up. All the fight nights that are coming up, leading up to and including UFC 278, we're going to go over. But I want to go over first the UFC 277 card, and then we'll just kind of work into everything else. This was an incredible card. Me and my brother Kevin and my longtime super best friend Chris have been going to the fights pretty regularly in the state of Texas. We got to hit the Texas trifecta. I think this is the first time in a calendar year whenever the UFC has done an event in Dallas, Houston, and Austin, all within the same 12 months. And so we got to hit them all. It was a super neato deal. We went and got Gus's fried chicken. Shout out Gus's. Never had bad fried chicken from there at all. And y'all boys can see, your boy is thick. He knows his food. If you want good fried chicken, go to Gus's. And they've got them within 10 minutes of what seems like every major sports venue at this point too. So everywhere we go, there seems to be a Gus's. But I could sit here and bullshit about Gus's fried chicken all fucking day. So let's just jump right into 277. Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes looked like an absolute world beater. She was just absolutely fantastic, man. The first round was pretty competitive. I thought that I felt like Amanda won the first round too, but it was a pretty one-sided affair after that. Amanda was working in uppercuts, really messing with Juliana Pena whenever she was kind of doing her dip and jab. The uppercut was nerfing that. Big overhand rights on the counter. Looked great. I mean, was in good shape. Held, the gas tank held up for the full 5 rounds. Was winning the stand-up battle, was winning the grappling, was winning it on the ground. I mean, was winning it everywhere she went. Juliana Pena gave some really, really good submission attempts off the bottom and stuff. It's not to say that she wasn't a game opponent, man. She's a great champion, a great fighter, heart of a lion, but at the end of the day, Amanda Nunes just looked bigger, like a bigger girl, and was in there in really good shape. And that was that, man. I mean, Amanda Nunes is a bigger, stronger girl, focused. It was her fight. Let's see what could look good for either of these girls. So this was a bantamweight, right? Yeah, this was bantamweight. So let's see who's coming up at bantamweight right now. I mean, I know that they were talking about potentially doing Shevchenko and Nunes 3, which y'all can take my money on that any weekend. I mean, there's Ketlin Vieira, who is a tough cookie, man. Ketlin Vieira is a fun fight at women's bantamweight. Holly Holmes up there, but has already been given that work. Irene Aldana, Raquel Pennington. I mean, none of these really make my dick tingle except for Ketlin Vieira. I think Ketlin could be Ketlin Vieira. I think she could be a pretty fun fight. She's a big old girl, tough girl, and I think that she's going to give anybody trouble. So that's something. But I mean, if I'm the UFC, I'm probably gunning for Shevchenko and Nunes 3. Right? That's going to be what's interesting. You might want to run it back between Nunes and Pena so they can have a trilogy. But I mean, that fight was pretty damn dominant, man. I don't know if the brass is gonna go for that. So we'll see how things play out. If I had to gamble, I would say that Amanda Nunes is probably going to wind up fighting Valentina Shevchenko for a third time, or Juliana Pena for a third time. I think that she's probably got a trilogy on the horizon for her. But outside of that, I'd personally like to see her fight Ketlin Vieira. I think that'd be a very, very good fight. But What's next for Juliana Pena? I mean, man, took a tough loss. Fights like Irene Aldana, Yana Kunitskaya. I mean, she's gonna have to just gatekeep for Amanda Nunez for a little while, right? If she wins 2-3 fights in a row, she's back in there fighting for the title again. But I think at this point she's batting second behind Amanda Nunez clearly. So moving on, let's see what else happened in 277. Oh, Brandon Moreno defeated Kai Kara France. This is exceptional. It was a great fight. I felt like Brandon Moreno pretty much won the entire fight. Yeah, it seemed like he had won every round. It was a TKO, and like there was less than 30 seconds left to go in the third round. But Brandon Moreno hit him with a big body kick to the liver, and it just immediately folded Kai Kara France. And he was trying his best to defend himself. He covered up. He was moving around, but at the end of the day, he was getting hit with some really big shots. The ref had seen enough, and you really can't argue the decision at all. So, a really good performance out of Brandon Moreno. Obviously, UFC 277 was in Texas. Brandon Moreno is the Mexican champion right now, and frankly, the stadium popped louder for Brandon Moreno than it did for Derek Lewis, and I was actually pretty shocked about that. The Vatos come out and support their boy Brandon Moreno, and I'm happy. Makes me really happy. Brandon Moreno's like a really nice guy, right? Like he's not like a Conor McGregor or Nate Diaz guys who like have this like aggression about them, a kind of ugliness about them, right? Brandon Moreno is a really sweet dude. Like every time that they talk to him, he's saying like really nice things, and his demeanor and everything is really positive. His disposition is really sweet, and so it's really cool to see like a nice guy win over a significant portion of the fan base. So good on Brandon Moreno for breaking the code, right? He's popular and nice. DC ought to take notes. Maybe DC should have just been Mexican, right? But let's see what the rankings are looking like over there. So Brandon Moreno's now this was also an interim championship fight. So I mean, it's going to be the Brandon Moreno versus Davison Figueiredo show. Is what's coming up next for Brandon Moreno, right? They even had Davison Figueiredo like come into the octagon and do some like WWE shit, right? Which it ended in like mutual respect, and it was all very positive. And Davison's a stand-up guy. He was like, tonight's Brendan's night. I'm proud of him. Everybody's happy for him, and I can't wait to get in there and fight him. And so, it was handled appropriately by all parties, and I'm really looking forward to that rematch, man. Like, it's going to be the fourth time they fought, and I have no idea who's going to win. No one knows who's going to win. It's going to be we're going to win. The fans are going to win. It's one of those type of fights. Tough loss for Kai Kara France, though, man. He went out there and fought really hard. It was a really admirable performance, especially the way that he was like starting to come back. It was looking like he was about to win the third round, obviously, and then he just got caught. What I hope doesn't wind up happening to Kai Kara France is I hope that he doesn't wind up becoming like the Dan Hooker of the flyweight division. And I mean that with the utmost respect to Dan Hooker, because Dan Hooker's an exceptional fighter, right? But he keeps not getting over the hill and getting to the championship fight, and so granted, Kai Kara France got to the championship fight, but it was an interim belt, and I really want the best for Kai Kara France, and I want the best for Dan Hooker, but Dan Hooker like exclusively gets fed to like the most bloodthirsty sharks of the division that there are, right? And like he rattles off a couple wins and then he loses because he's just always fighting these tip of the spear guys who are like young and hungry and on the come up, right? And I feel like if they just kind of protected him a little bit, he could get his way into a championship fight. But I would just hate to see Kai Kara France wind up just fighting only the toughest dudes and serving as like a gatekeeper to the top three. That's like the hardest job in the world. And Dan Hooker's doing it, and it pains me to see Dan Hooker taking the losses he's taking, and it's going to pain me to see Kai Kara France taking the losses that he's going to take if he finds himself in that role. But with him being number 3, he's a tough guy. I mean, he Had won 3 in a row before he took this L with Brendan Marino. See what the rankings are over in flyweight. See what they're looking like right now. So then there's Askar Askarov, Alexander Pantoja, who had a fantastic night at the office. We're going to get to his fight in just a little bit. Brendan Royval, Alex Perez, Mateus Nicolau, Matt Schnell. These are all guys who are like on the bubble who could potentially see themselves facing Kai Kara France moving forward, in my opinion. Anybody between number 4 and number 12, I think, are guys that like could realistically find themselves in a Kai Kara France fight moving forward. Because anybody who fights him and beats him is going to find themselves fighting for a title or being like literally one fight away from fighting in a title. I can't imagine you beating Kai Kara France and then not immediately getting a title opportunity. So I would say that it's probably a title eliminator whenever you go to fight Kai Kara France. Moving on, Derek Lewis and Sergey Pavlovich. Man, this was hard. Derek is a national treasure of Texas, and he took a hard loss. I don't want to take anything away from Sergey Pavlovich. He went out there and put on an exceptional performance, but he did not make any friends in the state of Texas last night doing that to Derek Lewis in the state of Texas. It's just a tough pill to swallow. My brother felt like the stoppage was early. DC feels like the stoppage was early. Whenever I saw it live, I didn't feel like the stoppage was early. Okay, he got hit hard. He was getting swarmed. And then he got hit and the lights went out. Like, Derek fell and he stopped his fall with his face. Okay? Like, if you're with it, you go, but he didn't. He literally face planted on the mat. And the moment that he face planted on the mat, the ref stepped in and stopped it, which is probably an appropriate decision, you know, if I'm being really frank. So, as much as I wanted to see Derek Lewis win, and as much as I want to disagree with the stoppage, I just can't. I was there live. I saw it happen live. It felt appropriate. You know, you can't break your fall with your face and expect to be allowed to continue fighting. It's just the bottom line. And so, you know, what's on the horizon for Derek Lewis? I mean, he just took a tough L, and I mean, he's now out of the top 5, right? He's number 7 now. You know, there are some fun fights. I mean, Alexander Romanov, but he's already got a fight. Shamil Abdurakhimov, Augusto Sakai, Jairzinho Rosenstruck. But I mean, the guys beneath him in the top 15 are Alexander Volkov, who's already beat Jairzinho Rosenstruck, who would probably be a really boring fight. Chris Daukaus, who he's already beat. Marcin Tybura, who he's already beat. Alexander Romanov, who's got a fight on the horizon already. Shamil Abdurakhimov, who would be a boring fight. Augusto Sakai would be a fun fight, but he's already got a fight. And Blugoi Ivanov, who I believe Derek Lewis has already fought, but I might be tripping about that, and I don't have Derek's stats pulled up in front of me for some reason. That's like the one fight that I didn't proactively do it, and I'm not trying to go typing on my keyboard and messing up people's audio experience. So, you know, I'm just going to trust my gut and say that he's already fought and defeated Blugoi Ivanov. So it's like, literally the people beneath him are guys that he's already beat, or guys that like aren't going to necessarily be entertaining or friendly matchups for Derek Lewis. So I don't know what you do with him. I mean, he's the fucking knockout king, right? He's a fun fighter, fun dude, great promos, super fun fights all the time. So I don't know what you do. You know, I would say I would think about it if I were the UFC really hard and figure out how to get him a fun fight that's winnable. That's like with a guy who's young and on the come up, who would make an interesting, fun matchup. But ultimately, I am not Sean Shelby or the matchmakers, and so I'm going to leave that to them on this one. I usually like to try and call what I'd like, but nothing's really leaping off the paper to me right now for old Derek Lewis. I know that whatever fight he goes into, he's going to make fun. It's going to be good promo, so there's really like not a wrong way to play it. So just see how it goes. Let's see, what's the next fight on the card here? Oh man, Alexandre Pantoja submitted Alex Perez in a minute and a half. It was beautiful. Um, they were, standing and fighting, kickboxing for a while, and then the moment that it went to the grappling, they got pushed up against the cage, and he immediately took Alex's back, locked in the body triangle while they were standing, made Alex pack his weight around. They went to the ground, and he just kept fishing for that choke, and eventually got it in, and that was that. I mean, it was a textbook victory, man. It was really, really good. And so now he's won 3 in a row. He is currently ranked number 2 in the flyweight division, and I would gamble that he's going to catch the winner of Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo moving forward. So he may be on the shelf for a little while. We don't know exactly how long it's going to take for Davison Figueiredo to get back, and then obviously they've got to have the fight between him and Brandon Moreno. So maybe he finds a fight between here and there. But I mean, being that high, being on the streak that he's on, I would probably hold out for a title shot if I were him. Or at least that's what I would hope for him. Right? I feel like he deserves it at this point. Yeah, I mean, 2 finishes in a row against 2 top-level guys. I mean, 2 performances of the night in a row. The guy's good. The guy's really good. The guy's entertaining as well. Alex Perez, man, 2 losses in a row, and his last loss before that was to Davison Figueiredo back in November 21st of 2020. So, had a pretty long layoff, and then, almost 2 years, year and a half at least, and came back and immediately got fed to Alexander Pantoja and met his match. Let's see what he's ranked currently. He's currently ranked number 6 in the rankings, and this is at flyweight, so there's going to be all kinds of fun matchups. Flyweight's a crazy-ass division. Yeah, Alex Perez there at number 6. I mean, there's guys like Matthias Nicolau, Matt Schnell, David Dvorak, Tim Elliott, Sima Darji. He's an interesting character right now. So I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that they could do that would be interesting. Nothing friendly. There's nothing friendly there. These are all tough fights for him, for anybody, frankly. And so I don't know exactly what you do with him moving forward. Maybe a Sima Darji, right? How she fought for the championship and lost, took a year and a half off, came back and fought a top contender and lost. Maybe now you come back and fight a guy who's just outside of the top 10 who's trying to break his way in, and either you win and you keep moving up the rankings again, or you lose, and we've things are balancing themselves out. The young hot guy on the come up gets to be the young hot guy on the come up. So we're going to see how things shake down for him. I don't know exactly how they're going to wind up playing it out. That's the business of the UFC. I'm just here to talk about it. Next was Magomed Ankalaev and Anthony Smith. Magomed Ankalaev got the second round TKO victory over Anthony Smith. It was a really fun fight. My brother noticed pretty immediately that Anthony Smith had a really wide stance and was looking a little off. And he even said that it looked like he's hurt his leg. And then as it turns out, they're saying that Anthony Smith broke his leg in the first round. There are conspiracy theories that he'd hurt his leg in training and knew it was fucked and went in there to get the bag because he needed the bag. I can't imagine that is the case. Anthony Smith is an upstanding guy. I imagine that he would shoot really straight with everybody. This is a business arrangement, and it would be inappropriate of him to ultimately mislead the people that he's doing business with. So I'm not gonna say that on the record. I think that's what happened, but I know that I heard several people say that here as of recent. And so, at the bottom line is Magomed got him a good win, right? He didn't let Anthony off the hook. Anthony was hurt. Anthony couldn't quite fight the way he needed to. That gave Magomed a pretty distinct advantage, and he took advantage of it and got the win. And I'm proud of him. He's a great fighter, and he deserves every bit of what he's getting right now. Alex Morono and Matthew Semmelsberger was a crazy fight. I know that Alex is training out of Texas right now, and so they gave him a pretty big pop in the stands, but I thought they were going to stop the fight between the second and the third. Semmelsberger's eye was like swole up so damn big it was unreal, and it was funny because I was there in person, and I saw where the ref was trying to tell him, can you see how many fingers I'm holding up? And he looked with his other eye across his nose and saw and said too. And I think it was Big Dan was the ref, and even Big Dan wasn't buying it, and even called the ringside physician in a second time to be like, come on, man, are you sure this guy can see out of this eye? Are you sure this is safe? And they looked at him and determined he was good to go, and the fight rolled on. And so after that, he came out like a banshee, dude. The strike of the entire fight was a flying knee that Matthew landed on Alex Morono that sent him to the floor. I thought he was about to get the finish in the third round. So it was an entertaining fight, a very, very entertaining fight. But at the end of the day, Alex Morono did enough to get the unanimous decision, and it was a really, really good fight for him. Let's see what he's working with. Yeah, so I mean, he's won a couple in a row. He's welterweight. A lot of fun fights you can do with Alex Morono, to be honest. I mean, he's a tough guy. You know, we're gonna see where he lands. They're gonna keep working with him because he's an entertaining guy. He goes in there and does his job effectively. But man, one of the highlights of the entire night for me was Drew Dober. The way that he was able to get the finish over Rafael Alves. Just commitment to the body work, excellent boxing, and strong kicks to the liver. He hit him with probably 4 real good liver kicks, and then hit him with some lefts to the liver that were strong, man. I mean, like big punches to the liver repeatedly throughout the entire fight. And so, you know, it's like DC said. You eat those body shots, you're good until you're not, and then you're not good, and then all of a sudden your body is shutting down and you're trying to defend yourself while your body's shutting down and you can't. And so he was good until he got hit with one too many in the liver, and then suddenly he wasn't. And Drew Dober didn't let him off the hook. He swarmed him, and that was that. I mean, that was really just that. It's as simple as you can put it. Is Drew Dober currently ranked? No, he's not currently ranked, from what I can tell. But he's a super fun fighter. He's won 2 in a row by TKO or KO. He got a performance of the night against Rafael Alves, which is fun. And he's on the come up. I mean, I think there was a long break when he wasn't really. No, 2020. So there wasn't really any long break. I mean, almost a year between June 2021 and March 2022, but nothing too terribly long. So, won 2 fights in a row at lightweight. Let's see what these lightweight rankings look like right now. Man, there's some sharks swimming over here. I mean, Armand Sakurian, Tony Ferguson, Conor McGregor, Dan Hooker, Jalen Turner, and Demirez Magulov are the guys rounding out the bottom third of the top 15 at lightweight, and those are all killers. I mean, Conor McGregor is obviously not going to fight him, but I mean, Dan Hooker could be a fun fight. Jalen Turner could be a fun fight. Tony Ferguson could be a fun fight. Demirez Magulov. I mean, literally all these guys could be fun fights. Yeah, lightweight. Anybody in the top 15 of lightweight is super athletic and super talented. So I don't think there'd be necessarily any wrongdoing unless you have a vested interest in seeing Drew do well, or you're trying to feed Drew to a guy who you want to see well. But if you're just trying to make fights that are going to be entertaining for the fans, Ain't no wrong way to play that. Moving on, Jakar Close got him a decision over Rafa Garcia. Michael Morales remained undefeated, getting a TKO over Adam Fujit. Jocelyn Edwards got a decision over Ju Young Kim. Yeah, that's about it though. That's about as far as I'm going to go back on 277. It was a really fun card. Like I said, I was there in person. Brenda Morono is now the interim lightweight champion. Amanda Nunez has her double champ status back, and things are effectively as they should be in the world. So then, let's see here. The next set of fights that are coming up is UFC on ESPN, Santos versus Hill. So this is Thiago Santos versus Jamal Hill. I always want to say John Mahal, but the broadcast team calls him Jamal, so I got to call him Jamal because they have more information than me, right? Woo, excuse me. But, I mean, I don't know how to choose this one, man. Thiago Santos is like a super talented guy, super powerful, has gone out and like given John Jones everything that he can handle in 5-round championship fights, right? Like that's the level of experience that's being brought into this fight against Jamal Hill. Now, Jamal Hill has shown that he is super strong, super fast, super technical, and capable, right? I love Jamal Hill's boxing. He's got some really crispy punches that come right down the middle. Everything's tight, not really wasting any effort. And he beats guys with a punch because he throws tight technical punches. He's not throwing big, weird looping stuff. He's like right down the pipe, gonna hit you right in the mouth. So, I'm gonna pick Jamal Hill. That's what my heart tells me, is to pick Jamal Hill, right? Thiago Santos has like had major knee surgeries on both his knees, getting a little older. Jamal Hill is a beast on the come up with, what looks like tighter boxing to me. I know Thiago Santos is a black belt in Muay Thai out of Brazil, but it always seems like he's kind of throwing bigger, loopier punches, man. And it just seems like if they're standing there in space, kickboxing back and forth, I think Jamal Hill's gonna have the advantage there, just being younger, more aggressive, and throwing tighter punches. The next fight on the ESPN UFC card, Santos versus Hill, is Vicente Luque versus Geoff Neal. And this is a fun fight. It's welterweight. I mean, Vicente Luque is a savage. I mean, he's landed incredible numbers of strikes on guys in fights. He's also absorbed incredible numbers of strikes in fights. But he's a really, really entertaining fighter. And I think it's a really great fight for Geoff Neal. I'm a big Geoff Neal fan. Trains out of Texas. I'm obliged to like pull for Texas boys. So at this point, I think that Geoff Neal probably punches harder. That's probably the honest truth of the matter. Vicente Luque probably has the more technical ability. It isn't a main event. It isn't for a strap, so it's going to be 3 rounds, which I know Vicente Luque has main event 5-round experience. I got to pick Geoff Neal. I can't be picking against Texas. It's literally that simple. Let's look at what these guys have been doing here as of recent, so we can look at their little resumes. So Vicente Luque is number 6 right now, which is impressive. He had won 4 in a row and then lost 1 against Bilal Muhammad. I remember that fight against Bilal Muhammad. It was a snooze fest. But he's got a couple of like really, 4 straight stoppages before that. Choked out Michael Chiesa, choked out Tyron Woodley, knocked out Randy Brown, TKO'd Nico Price, lost to Stephen Thompson in a decision, and then won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in a row before that. So he's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 2 in his last 12 fights. So that's a really, really like good record, man. Like that's he's gonna be a tough one to beat. And Jeff Neal is number 13 in the rankings. So yeah, man. I'm picking Jeff Neal, but if Vicente Luque was able to get it done, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Very much like the Derek Lewis Sergey Pavlovich pick that I made the other night. It's I'm obliged to pick Texas. I don't think that it's such a big discrepancy that it's clearly one way or the other, and so if it's something like that, I'm going to side with Texas. You know, fuck with me, gang, gang, swing and bang. What I'm talking about. Let's see what else is happening on this card. Muhammad Usman and Zach Pagua. So Muhammad Usman is the brother of the welterweight champion Kamaru Usman. Fights at heavyweight. This, I believe, is a like culmination of the Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, his last two fights, Muhammad's last two fights were both on the Ultimate Fighter, where he got a unanimous decision followed by a split decision. So that's, we'll see. And then Zach, his last two fights were also on the Ultimate Fighter. Got a unanimous decision and a KO, a KO, TKO 30 seconds into the second round. So that's fun. If I'm picking, I don't know who I'm picking. I ain't really seen either of the guys fight. Next, you got Brogan Walker and Juliana Miller, women's flyweight. They don't even have pictures of these girls, but I know that they're what am I trying to say? Ultimate Fighter girls. So we'll see how that goes. Augusto Sakai versus Sergey Spivak. This ought to be a real fun fight. I mean, Augusto doesn't have boring fights. Augusto Sakai has exclusively fun fights. He might not be the most technical guy, but he definitely is like willing to go in there and put himself in the fire for the sake of landing his own shots, and it makes for entertaining fights. Sergey Spivak, he's a fun fighter as well. I believe he goes by what does he go by? Like the polar bear or whatever. His last fight he taxed Greg Hardy. But before that he lost to Tom Aspinall, and I believe he actually took the Tom Aspinall fight on short notice. But then before that he beat Alexei Oleinik in a unanimous decision, which that's impressive, man. To be able to go a full 15 minutes with Alexei Oleinik and not get strangled is like, wow, go you. He also TKO'd Jared Vendera, and he got a majority decision over Carlos Felipe. Then he lost to Marcin Tybura. He actually beat Tai Tuivasa. He arm triangle choked him back in October 5th of 2019. He lost to Walt Harris in his UFC debut, and then he was pretty much undefeated in all of his other organizations before he got into the UFC. So he's 5-3 in the UFC. So it's a pretty salty record, but I mean, got some real good wins. His only losses are to like real good dudes. Like this is Walt Harris, back I think before all the personal stuff happened to him, and he wasn't so distracted. Which, man, Walt Harris had such a tough deal, man. If you're unfamiliar, his stepdaughter got kidnapped and killed, man, and it really fucked a bunch of shit up for him in his life, as you can imagine, right? So, man, I hate that. But at any rate, his only losses are to like good guys, right? I love that he fucking beat Greg Hardy's ass. So I mean, damn, it's gonna be a good fight, man. I don't know who's gonna win. If I had to pick it, I'd probably pick Augusto Sakai, right? Augusto Sakai is like a really aggressive guy. Oh fucking hey, I don't know, man. I mean, he's got 3 losses in a row, but it's to like top dudes. When we're talking Alistair Overeem, Jairzinho Rozenstruik, Tai Tuivasa, which he took an L to Tai, where Sergey beat him, right? But Sergey fought Tai years ago, back before Tai really kind of hit his stride and really doubled down on his training and stuff. So it's going to be a little different. Let me see. Oh, Sakai beat Marcin Tybura, whereas Marcin Tybura beat the polar bear. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Augusto Sakai on this one. If I like have to pick it. And that's as far as I'm gonna go on that one. Let's get flipped over to our next set of fights here. So that was Santos versus Hill. This is going to be Vera versus Cruz. That's a fun fight. Cheeto Vera, I'm a big Cheeto Vera fan. I hate that people discredit him for how he beat old weed guy. You know what I'm talking about. Everyone knows who I'm talking about. Sean O'Malley. Yeah, you can't. I mean, bro, he kicked him in the leg and disabled his leg. Like it's a valid tactic, and so I'm not prepared to take anything away from Cheeto. Let's see what Marlon's been having going on in the world of Marlon Vera. Yeah, so I mean, wow, he's been in the UFC for so long. He's been in the UFC since UFC 180, bro. I mean, we're talking, this is 8 years in the UFC for Cheeto, bro. And I mean, one against Davey Grant, unanimous decision, knocked out Frankie Edgar, beat Rob Font. He's lost to Jose Aldo and Song Yadong, but he's got some really good wins on this resume here, like really good wins, and he's on a hot streak right now. Let's see what Dominic Cruz has on the record. I mean, Dominic Cruz is one of the best to do it ever. One of the best to do it ever. Don't make any mistake about it. I mean, hell, he's only got 2 losses in the UFC, and people like to talk about it like he's fucking over the hill, right? But he lost the unanimous decision to Cody Garbrandt back in 2016, and then he took a loss to Henry Cejudo, got TKO'd by Henry Cejudo, which he did adamantly protest, which is still one of the funniest thing that's gone on in the UFC to this day, where Dominic Cruz is trying to bring into question the professionalism of NNKP, no nonsense Keith Peterson, saying he reeked of like Budweiser and Marlboro Reds, which is probably true, but at the end of the day, NNKP knows what he's doing, and I'm not prepared to argue with him on his decisions. But he beat Casey Kinney and he beat Pedro Munoz. Pedro Munoz is no slouch, right? I mean, since May 9th of 2020, he's had 3 fights. So he had like a significant layoff between the Cody Garbrandt loss and the Henry Cejudo loss. But I mean, he got right back on his horse and fought again within 12 months after losing to Henry Cejudo, and he's won 2 in a row there. It's tough, man. It's a tough one to call. It's a tough one to call. What y'all think? Who y'all think's going to win? I think we're going to win. I think we as the fans are going to win. If I had to call it, I would say Cheeto's going to win. I feel like Cheeto's the guy with like the momentum right now. So I would have to go with Marlon. But it's anybody's fight, to be real honest. The co-main, we've got Alexa Grasso versus Vivian Araujo. Alexa Grasso is number 5 in the flyweight division. Let's see what her recent wins. So she's had 3 straight wins in a row over Jiyoung Kim, Macy Barber, and Joanne Wood. So good wins. August 29th, 2020, February 13th, 2021, March 26th, 2022. So, I mean, she's getting a fight a year in, and this is about to be her 2nd fight this year, so she's staying real nice and active. She's only been fighting at flyweight the last 3 fights, so she's undefeated at flyweight. Okay, that's the kicker here, is that she lost to Carla Esparza and then dropped down to flyweight and is now 3-0 at flyweight. And let's see what Vivian's got going on. So she is number 6, and she is 3-1 in her last 4. With her only loss coming to Caitlin Chikagian, but she did beat Montana De La Rosa, Roxana Modafferi, and Andrea Lee. Which that does not feel as impressive as what Alexa Grasso's been doing, and Alexa Grasso is ranked higher. It's number 5 versus number 6, bro. This is going to be a scrappy scrap right here for real. But I think if I had to choose it, I would probably go with Alexa Grasso, right? She's higher ranked. She looks like she's got a hotter streak going on right now. Next we got Devin Clark, who came in off the Contender Series, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. No. He came in from looking for a fight. That's right. I knew he was like one of those guys that came in for something like that. I mean, man, 3-2 in his last 5. So it's not like the most incredible record, but he did beat William Knight, who's a tank. He lost to Ion Cutelaba, and he lost to Anthony Smith. So there's not really any shame in losing to either of those guys, as they're both tip of the spear guys. Ion isn't quite as tip of the spear as Anthony Smith, but still really good. And then they fed him a guy who was a little bit lower than that, William Knight, and he got the win again. So I mean, it's a what do you do with a guy like that? You know what I'm saying? He's winning fights. Let's see what Amzat's got going on. Let's see what Azamat's got going on. Oh, yeah, that's right. He's a Contender Series guy. He got a TKO in the Contender Series, and then he got a flying knee KO over Tafon Chukwi. So he's an interesting fighter. We don't know as much about him as we do about Devin Clark. So it's a hard one to pick, right? I know that Devin Clark's like a good guy, like a real good fighter. They just have him fighting really, really top level competition. So probably gonna pick Devin Clark if I'm being real honest. Cynthia Calvillo versus Nina Nunez, formerly Nina Ansaroff, wife of the Lioness. Let's see what Cynthia's record's looking like here as of recent. Damn, 3 losses in a row, a win, and then a draw. Damn. So you have 3-1-1 in your last 5. Number 12 in women's flyweight. Damn, that's a tough skid, my dude. Yeah, tough skid. Let's see what Nina's working with. I know Nina hasn't fought since April of last year. Lost 2 in a row. So, lost 2 in a row versus lost 3 in a row. Number 9 versus number 12. I think, man, I don't know who's gonna win this one. Probably Nina. If I had to pick it, it's probably gonna be Nina. If I'm being real honest. Like, let's just shoot straight. I believe it's probably gonna be Nina. If I gotta pick it, in my heart of hearts, that's how I feel like it's gonna go. Not based on anything intelligent. It's just like how it feels in my gut. Then we got Bruno Silva and Gerald Meerschaert. This ought to be a real fun fight. Bruno Silva is, he's 3-1 in the UFC, and he lost against Alex Pereira, right? And it wasn't even, and he didn't get knocked out. He actually took Alex all the way to a decision. So, he's a tough guy, talented guy. You can guarantee that. Let's see what Gerald Meerschaert's got going on the resume right now. So he's 3-1 in his last 4. He lost a decision to Krzysztof Jotko, which Jotko is a serious competitor, man, a really serious competitor. Coming off a loss, 3 wins and a loss. So these guys are both coming off losses. I don't know who's going to win this one. It's a good fight. They did good matchmaking this one. These guys are going to give us a really good fight. That's the bottom line. I always like fights like this because they're both really like desperately trying to like climb the ranks and do it, build a name for themselves. And so it isn't like the guys that are like at the tip of the spear where You get this like high level chess match where it's almost kind of boring, even for someone who really appreciates the sport. Right? These guys are going to have a lot of heart, and they're going to go out there and show it. I really do believe that, and it's going to be a really fun fight. Let's see, we've got one more that we're going to go over. Yeah, oh yeah, this is going to be a fun one right here. So let's go over UFC 278 real quick, just kind of really quickly. So we got Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards. This is Kamaru Usman's fight. I mean, let's be real. Kamaru Usman's that guy. He's a fucking Terminator. Yeah, I don't see Leon Edwards winning this fight anywhere. I think that before I might have said that Leon has a big enough advantage in the kickboxing that if he can keep Kamaru off of him, he could win. But since working with Trevor Whitman, bro, Kamaru Usman's boxing and stand-up and kickboxing is so good that I don't think that there's anybody in the UFC that's at his weight limit where they're gonna have like a big advantage in the stand-up to the point that it can't be effectively negated by Kamaru Usman, right? And so, like, effectively evenly matched everywhere, except Kamaru's the champion. He's probably got the edge everywhere on Leon. Leon might have a little bit of an edge in the stand-up at this point, but again, it's Kamaru's making up so much groundwork with Trevor Whitman that I can't sit here and honestly say I believe that Leon Edwards has a big advantage in the stand-up. So, I mean, the way that Kamaru Usman sent Jorge Masvidal to space was extraordinary, and so he's got like the technical ability, he's got the mindset, he's got the power. He's that dude right now. Well, don't fuck with Kamaru Usman. Sorry, Rocky. Got to pick Kamaru. I want to be right. Paulo Costa and Luke Rockhold. If Paulo can make weight, I like Paulo in this one, right? I know that Luke Rockhold's kind of chinny, and Paulo punches like a fucking Mack truck. But if it goes beyond 2.5 minutes into the second round and Paulo Costa starts gassing and Luke Rockhold gets his hands on him and he's able to get him on the ground and work that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Luke Rockhold's going to strangle him. But if I had to pick it, I'm going to pick Paulo Costa. I don't typically pick Paulo. Jose Aldo versus Merab Dvalishvili. It's an interesting fight, right? I'd probably have to pick Jose. Jose Aldo's looked really good in his last few fights. Like, what's his most recent fights looking like? 3 wins in a row. He took 3 losses in a row. But I mean, listen to this. It's Alexander Volkanovski, Marlon Moraes, and Peter Yan. And the Marlon Moraes decision was a split decision. And whenever I watched that shit live, I thought he won. And so did the UFC brass. And that's why his next fight after that loss was against Peter Yan for the championship. So you can take that 1 L with a grain of salt. But he's won 3 in a row after losing his shot against Peter Yan. Beat Chito Vera, beat Pedro Munoz, beat Rob Font. And I mean, those dudes are serious. Like, those aren't guys to fuck around with. Those are all real serious wins. But let's see what Merab's been doing. I mean, fuck, man. Merab took 2 L's when he first got to the UFC, but has won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 since then. But they've all been unanimous decisions with the exclusion of Marlon Moraes with the TKO in the second round. And I mean, let's be frank, Marlon Moraes, I believe, retired after this. Like, I think he was a little out of it. I don't think that he was in the. He didn't seem right in there. It didn't seem right. So, man, I'm gonna pick Jose Aldo. I think that Jose Aldo is gonna have a legitimate edge over Merab Dvalishvili. Yeah, I think it's Jose Aldo's fight to lose. I think that he's got a really good gas tank down at his new weight division. He's still packing power. That's above and beyond what most guys at bantamweight are used to experiencing, and I think it's going to be the Jose Aldo show. I think it's going to be a case of y'all must have forgot. Beyond that, we got Marcin Tybura versus Alexander Romanov, and Alexander Romanov is looking like a problem. I mean, my dude, undefeated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-0 in the UFC. submissions via key locks, TKOs, forearm chokes, triangle chokes, decisions. Yeah, man, this guy is like on the come up looking good. Yeah, on the come up looking good. But Marcin Tybura is no slump. Marcin Tybura is really, really good. I mean, he lost to Augusto Sakai, then beat Sergey Spivak, beat Maxim Grisham, beat Ben Rothwell, beat Greg Hardy, beat Walt Harris, and then lost to Alexander Volkov, which you really can't blame him for losing to Alexander Volkov. He's one of those guys who's got like a really difficult to deal with skill set, especially at heavyweight, and he's really a threat to like beat anybody on any Saturday night. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1 in his last 6 versus never having lost. I mean, this is the one that's going to tell that this is a big test for Alexander Romanov. I think if I had to pick it, I'm going to go with Alexander Romanov though, for sure. Marcin Tybura, the only memories I have of him are him losing. It seems like he wins, fights in an unmemorable way, and then he gets to the bigger spots, and then he loses, and like that's just the cycle for some people. And I hope the best for him. I hope he wins, but if I'm trying to pick it so that I'm right, I gotta pick Alexander Romanov. Then you got Tyson Pedro versus Harry Hunsucker. This is gonna be a really fun fight. Probably have to pick Tyson Pedro on this one. I know Harry Hunsucker's like competed at heavyweight and is a big guy and he's got some big power, but I'm a big Tyson Pedro fan. I think I'm gonna have to call out for Tyson Pedro. And with that, everybody, it has been wonderful. Thank you all so much for tuning in. This is Joshua. You guys are the asshole or the Armchair Army. We're not fucking Andrew Schultz. We're not listening to Flagrant 2 right now. Armchair Army. This is Joshua, and I really appreciate everybody for tuning in. And, keep an eye out. I'll be getting some content up soon. Peace.
Monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth, monkey mouth.